This is a TV show called Pagan Invasion. It came out back in the late 80s, early 90s. I think it was early to mid 90s. It is all about the satanic panic, basically, scaring the shit out of old people, making them think that they're being infiltrated and taken over by Satanists or whatever nonsense. This is actually part 2. If you haven't seen the previous part, don't sweat it. You don't have to see the others to understand what's happening here. Up to this point, they had a real true blue former Satanist on to tell his story, supposedly, about taking part in satanic rituals on Halloween. It's just unhinged stuff, dude. It's just unhinged. It's fake, obviously. They also had some people doing some supposed druid or witchcraft practices or rituals or whatever other nonsense. Now they have this woman on telling us about her experiences with Satanism and witchcraft and all that other stuff. So let's listen to what she has to say about this. This is actually episode 1 or volume 1 of this TV show called The Pagan Invasion, Halloween Trick or Treat. So let's listen to what she says here.
We have what we call contacts. There are other names for them. They are beings, that's the easy thing to call them, which can be people who have lived on the earth, or they can be God forms.
They become almost as real as the people standing next to you. And whoever else you call.
So that woman right there was supposed to have been like, she was on there earlier and she's talking about how she's been a witch for like years or something. I don't even... I'm kind of convinced at this point. I mean, we already watched like 30 minutes of this before, but I'm pretty convinced that these are all just Christian actors that are pretending to have been like witches or whatever. I really don't even think that this is real.
Doesn't actually materialize. You can't see them in the physical sense, but mentally you know that they are there. You can see them in your mind's eye.
They represent really forces in the universe. Forces that are like gravity or wind. But they're forces that have to do with our internal makeup and make our minds work in the way that they work.
Margaret Adler, practicing witch and author of Drawing Down the Moon, warns that the trance state, with its roots in ancient shamanism and paganism, is not to be entered into lightly or when alone. For the spirit to be contacted actually enters the witch's body, using it to deliver a verbal message.
Of course, this is completely made up. There is no witchcraft. There are no demons. It's all a fabrication, but okay.
There's a possibility if you don't cast a circle.
Look, Witch Queen of Germany. I guess she's like Mary Queen of Scots' version of a witch. So she kind of rules over a section, and she is the Witch Queen of Germany. Wow. Earlier they had the Witch Queen of Kent on, I think. I don't know where Kent is, but okay.
The forces that could come into the room could take over in a form of possession. We had one example here where one young woman, a nurse, was possessed by, I don't know what it was, but a horrible voice came through her and she passed out.
While occult procedures in their rituals may vary in intensity, the fact is that witches, as well as Satanists, commemorate Halloween night with the same fervent dedication to invoke spirits for personal power.
Queen of heaven, queen of hell, horned hunter of the night.
So this is all just fear-mongering nonsense to scare the shit out of older people once again. I don't know if these are even real, like, witches or real rituals. Somebody in my chat says that it looks familiar. It's similar to some things that they've done, so maybe they're imitating real rituals. It's kind of hard to tell, but anyway, take it with a grain of salt either way. Absolutely fascinating to watch these people fearmonger like this.
Lend your power unto our spell, and work our will by magic right.
Glenn, you've now been a Christian for some time. What is your reaction when you see Halloween celebrated by...
Oh my God. Okay, so something else I discovered in the previous part. This guy, Glenn, I have video of him talking about like infiltrating churches and stuff. Listen to what he has to say here, and I'll tell you more about him.
People.
Whenever Halloween time starts coming around, about the 1st of October, you go into the stores, you see the costumes, you see the mother with her little girl putting the witch's hat on her, and the little boy getting excited about getting the devil mask, and you see the candy, you see the Halloween pumpkins, you see people decorating their houses with skeletons. And
so, i.e., it's just fun. Everybody is enjoying their time and having fun, okay?
All these symbols of death. You know, it only serves to bring back horrifying memories to me.
So in the last part, he talked about how he was like some kind of Satanist when he was younger who did all of these ritual practices and all this other nonsense. Completely made up, obviously. I mean, this guy has been used in multiple far-right evangelical Christian TV shows to pretend that he was some Satanist who was doing the thing that Christians have been afraid that Satanists are like doing for years and years and years. Like right here, this show is intended to scare the shit out of old people and make them think that witches and Satanists are around every corner, secretly controlling things and pulling strings like puppet masters and all this other nonsense, right? Well, in another episode, this guy actually pretended to be a former Satanist. Interestingly enough, his name is spelled Glen here, but in this, it's spelled Glenn, so I'm not sure how his name is actually supposed to be spelled. But listen to what he says in this episode. I'm not even sure what this is from exactly.
They will try and infiltrate your church. They will try and set up whispering campaigns against the pastor and the elders. They may even try to seduce the pastor.
For 2 years, I was involved in the Baptist church. I was constantly complaining about the pastor's sermons being too long, being too dry, sowing discord between the people, gossiping about others.
So here's the interesting thing. If you caught what this one guy said at the end there, listen to this again.
Pastor and the elders, they may even try to seduce the pastor.
That was an excuse used by Jim Bakker when he got charged and or sued over a sexual assault case. He attacked his, I think his secretary. I forget exactly what the case was now. And he faced steep consequences for it. He and a bunch of other people claimed that he was set up by some Satanist who was trying to, like, take advantage of him or whatever other nonsense. That is the standard argument anytime a pastor is caught doing something that he really should not be doing, basically. So anyway, yeah, this whole show is all about tricking people into thinking that they are being like manipulated or hurt by Satanists to some degree or whatever other not. It's just completely made up, dude.
Memories of death, memories of children being so abused, so ripped of everything, their character, all in the name of Satan. If a person could really stop the next time they go into that store and realize that there are children who are going to lose their life because people are taking this a step further. There are
completely made up, entirely made up.
People out there who don't just celebrate Halloween with trick-or-treat candy. This is a religious holiday to them. This is something that is holy and sacred, and they are taking innocent human life.
That is not happening.
I can't say, go ahead and have Halloween fun. It doesn't matter if you're participating in Halloween, even if you're not a Satanist, if it's just for fun. No, because these Satanists are using this as a smokescreen.
Glenn, you said that Halloween is a religion of Satan. What do you think when you see churches and Christians celebrating Halloween?
It makes me sick that the Church of Jesus Christ would take...
I thought he was going to say the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints. I don't know why. Absolutely nuts. Coral Reef, as a Satanist, this is disgusting and slanderous. 100% agree with you. Absolutely. You're absolutely right. It is. It is playing off of the deepest fears of Christians, of older Christians who don't know anything about this stuff.
Take on this horrible demonic thing that is happening in our world. Christians should be the ones who are standing up against this. Christians should be the one who are saying these terrible things are happening and we want to stand against this.
Yeah, but they're not happening is the thing. I mean, is he is most definitely an actor, right? I can't see any situation in which he's not just pretending to be an ex-Satanist, because he's already told a bunch of lies. He was not involved in satanic rituals. He was not like raised as like a 7th generation Satanist or any of the other nonsense that he's spewing right now. It is completely made up.
Churches should not be having these Halloween parties at all. They should be coming together as brothers and sisters in Christ, binding together and coming against these dark forces, praying for these children that God will spare their lives, that somehow God will intervene and save these children.
Whether the public chooses to believe in the frightening growth of Satanism or not, the fact is that a highly organized network of Satanists are operating in America and Europe today.
Well, a little evidence would definitely convince people, right? If we had just a little evidence, we wouldn't have to worry about whether or not people believe it. It would be obvious. It would be without question. Unfortunately, there is no evidence for this stuff. Unfortunately for them. That's all anybody ever asked for, was a little bit of evidence.
They seem to be respectable members of society and are integrated into all professions and walks of life. We go now to a special report from noted author Hal Lindsey, who is on location at a site known to be used for satanic rituals.
Known by who? Who knows this site as something that's used for satanic rituals? Who uses this site?
We came out to a place in the hills east of Los Angeles, to a location that has been identified in the past with ritual worship and, we believe, Satanism. Frequently, this site has been discovered with candles that had been used in ritual, and you can look at some of the
Oh no, not candles.
artifacts we found here today, upside down crosses that were put around, bones that are scattered around here.
God, this is the most fear-mongering nonsense that I've ever seen in my life. It's ridiculous.
And various satanic symbols, but also something disturbing in the light of what we'll be talking about in the future, and that is the diaper of a very, very small baby.
Yeah, so this is once again calling back to the save the children nonsense. It's all about saving the children. We're all trying to save the children because they're all in danger. These evil people that hate us are trying to take over the children, trying to manipulate them and control them and all this stuff. This is the standard traditional Christian attack that I've come to expect at this point.
You know, I believe that this country is experiencing a pagan invasion, including a new upsurge of practice of witchcraft, the New Age, and as we will talk about today, outright Satanism.
Can't have that. Everybody must be a Christian, right? There's no freedom of choice, no freedom of religion in this country.
Around the middle of the 1960s, there was a dramatic upsurge in satanic worship, beginning with Anton LaVey and his writing of the Satanic Bible and the
Right. So Anton LaVey was the writer of the Satanic Bible and the founder of the Church of Satan, which is a non-theistic church. They don't believe in God. Okay? It's basically an alternative to Christianity where you can just kind of do what you want to do and not be bound by all these ridiculous, extreme rules and beliefs and ideologies. That's all it is. It's just people living their lives, doing what they want to do without being manipulated by pastors into doing things that these pastors specifically want. There's no, like, worshiping Satan. There's no practicing, divination or any of this other nonsense. It's completely made up to scare older Christians. That's it.
Founding of the Church of Satan in San Francisco in 1966, I watched as this accelerated, not just in the West Coast, but around the country. When Charles Manson and his gang in 1969...
Here's another propaganda method, linking something you don't like to a cult or to something that nobody likes. This is how you get something canceled, in all seriousness. Somebody can't be canceled unless they do something that their audience doesn't expect them to do, right? Or that their audience disapproves of. So Donald Trump could do pretty much anything and not be canceled. Do you know why? Because he's viewed as a scumbag. Everybody knows him as a scumbag. So naturally, when he acts like a scumbag, it's no surprise to anybody. That's not going to lose him favor. It's not going to lose him respect from the people that love him for being a scumbag. But if I acted like a scumbag, it'd be different. You know what would get Donald Trump canceled in all seriousness? If he came out as gay. That would get Donald Trump canceled. If I came out as gay, nobody would give a shit. Because my audience is more accepting of being gay and less accepting of scumbaggery. And Donald Trump's audience is less accepting of being gay, but more accepting of scumbaggery, right? This is how it works. So what they're doing here is they're trying to plaster a label on this group that everybody hates. Not just the right, not just the left, but everybody hates people who hurt kids, right? Everybody, left and right, hate people who hurt kids. So what they're doing is they're trying to accuse their enemies of attacking children. It's a standard method of attack, and this is why QAnon screams about the children so much, because they think that this line of slander, this line of attack, will be successful, will be more successful than any other line of attack, basically. That's why they're constantly talking about saving the children.
Committed the horrible, brutal crime at Sharon Tate's home. This was done in connection with all of the paraphernalia of Satan.
So he's tying Charles Manson, somebody widely known to be like evil or sick or whatever. He's tying that to Satanism. He's claiming that his motivation was Satanism. He wouldn't be the way that he is without Satanism. He was a Satanist. I mean, the whole thing. He's trying to tie the two things together because everybody accepts that Charles Manson is sick. So if you can tie the two together, maybe you can get everybody to accept that Satanism is sick also. It's a common propaganda technique.
Satan worship. This started a whole avalanche of satanic crimes. We've seen serial. We have watched as one after another has been brought to light. Many where satanic symbols have been discovered, the pentagram, 666, and all sorts of things of this nature were done. But more distressing, we have found all over the country reports that there are animals that have been mutilated in a very skillful and specific style.
Evidence? You have some evidence of that? Just give me a little evidence. That's all I need.
That shows that they were ritually offered as sacrifices. There are now confirmed cases where there have been girls that have been used as
Oh my God, okay, I'm skipping forward a little.
And the occultist. Halloween is the time when all across the country, in secret little places, in the dark, there will be little babies sacrificed.
Oh my God. See, this is all made up. In the previous part, I talked about something called Protocols of the Elders of Zion. It's this old propaganda book that was created to foment hatred, basically, against the Jewish community. It was designed to make people afraid of Jews, make them think that Jews were like evil or whatever else. And it is actually the source of every conspiracy theory out there today. This whole, they're sacrificing kids to Satan or whatever, that's from the Protocols of the Elders of Zion. This is a copy of it right here. There are 27 protocols. They claimed that they found them on Jewish soldiers in 1902. It was completely made up. They didn't. We know where it came from. It was a forgery from a book, a satire book, written in the 1800s in French that never even mentioned Jews. But this is the source of every conspiracy theory out there today. I mean, the Great Replacement, it's from this. The Great Reset, it's from this. It's from protocols, seriously. This blood libel thing where they're like sacrificing kids to Satan or whatever else, it's all from protocols, all of it. And that's what we're listening to right now. This guy's basically repeating the same conspiracy theory nonsense that was repeated in Protocols of the Elders of Zion. All made up. But these conspiracy theories persist hundreds of years down the line even. It's crazy, man.
To Satan. You don't believe it?
No, I don't. Because I know the source. I know it came from Protocols of the Elders of Zion.
I know it's hard to believe myself, but there has been such an acceleration of worship of Satan that we believe that these sorts of things are happening, and we have evidence that they are.
Well, give me that evidence. Please, I want it. If you have the proof, then I want the proof too. I'm looking for evidence here, and for some reason he refuses to just provide it. You notice that? He always talks about all this evidence, all this proof that Satanists are all over the place. Give it. I'm listening. I'm a captive audience right now. You have my attention. Show it.
Satanism.
Oh, and then it just jumps to like a video of people walking through the forest. Weird. He just talked about evidence. I expected evidence. I wanted evidence. And instead of giving evidence, he just walks away, pretends he never claimed there was any.
Exists in this country as it exists elsewhere. It is appallingly evil. It is about child abuse.
Dude, come on. Once again, it's about child abuse thing. This is all straight from Protocols of the Elders of Zion. They may not be talking about Jews in this specific moment, but all of these accusations were made against Jews back in 1902, 1905, and then it was spread through Nazi Germany, spread through Tsarist Russia, and then the KGB printed copies of the Protocols of the Elders of Zion and passed it out in the Middle East. You ever wonder why Iran and Pakistan and all of the other, Saudi Arabia, you ever wonder why they really don't like Jewish people? It's because the KGB spent time passing Protocols of the Elders of Zion throughout the Middle East. That's why. Seriously, I'm not joking.
It's about. It is no joke and must be taken seriously and must be dealt with.
I'll take your mom seriously.
If they can ritually children, if they can in any way children, anything to destroy a child's innocence or their trust or...
Oh, wow. Hey, he's a former Satanist too, supposedly. Oh my God, Bill Schnoebelen. Let me look this guy up out of curiosity. Let's see. I'm already on Wikipedia. Bill Schnoebelen. He's not on Wikipedia. Let's just Google him. Lucifer Dethroned. Dr. William Schnoebelen. Oh my God, I should read this book eventually. This is him. He was a Satanist. Payment was due, but when a Christian bank clerk saw his check to the Church of Satan and began praying for him, William Schnoebelen's life suddenly fell apart. His incredible occult powers failed. He lost his job, was evicted from his home. Everything went wrong because one Christian woman dared to pray. A high-ranking Satanist came face to face with the only authority greater than the dark lord he served. Witness what the devil can do to a man and what Jesus Christ can do for that man to shatter profound chains of spiritual despair. Oh my God, this is crazy. When did this book come out? Oh, it's $11 on Kindle. No way. Was this published? Oh, second edition published 2018. When was the first edition? These authors aren't bad. Brandon Sanderson is incredible. One of the best writers I've ever read in my life. All right, I'll tell you what. I'm going to buy this book right now. Okay, let me see if I think I got it. I think I got a free sample. Let me just check here. Oh, I did. Okay, perfect. Let me see if I can buy it now. Let's see here. Buy now with one click. Thanks, Telltale. Okay, I purchased. Read now. We're not going to read it now. I just kind of wanted to glance through it real quick. Let's see. An amazing story of Christ's power to deliver and heal. Wow. Lucifer Dethroned. 1993 is when this book was originally written. Larry M. Jones. Enthronement. Ghostbusters? Know your enemy. The ceremony of innocence is drowned. The Devil's Avenger. Tunnels of Typhon. The hell? Humans are such easy prey. Slogan for an H.P. Lovecraft-inspired horror film. Oh, this is crazy, dude. The Cry to Cthulhu. Howard Phillips Lovecraft is well known among horror and fantasy novel fans. Wow, this guy has like something. This guy has it out for H.P. Lovecraft, seriously. Dude, what a waste of time. I don't have 3,000 pages worth of reading in me. This would take me like a year to read. That's crazy. Oh, no. It's jumping forward quickly, so I don't think it's actually 3,000 pages. Okay, it's a normal length. Lucifer Dethroned, a true story, it says. Oh, my God. Yeah, this guy is nuts, dude. Guy is straight up nuts. I'm sorry. I can't buy a single word out of this guy's mouth. I really can't. Anyway, all right. Wow, that was an interesting, wild trip. Let's keep listening to this nutter butter. See what else he has to say here.
Their wonder at the world, they will do it.
The most tragic stories that I've ever heard are where a child has told people what's been happening, and the adults have said, "Don't be stupid. That doesn't happen in this country. You're making up stories.
Hey, great. You know what? If there's evidence of it, then fine. I'm willing to believe it. That's fantastic. Show me evidence is all I need. Just a little bit of evidence. Would you be surprised to find that there is no evidence for this stuff? The reason adults are supposedly hesitant to believe any of this is because there's never any evidence. There have been like thousands, tens of thousands of investigations into satanic ritual abuse. None of them have ever come to anything. Now, you can tell me that you believe that that's because they're so good at hiding it. Fine. You can say that if you want. But until you bring evidence, no one has any reason to believe you, period. That you're a conspiracy theorist if that's actually what you believe. And he most definitely is a conspiracy theorist.
Lying.
The problem we're coming across is that the higher officials in these public organizations do not want to acknowledge that this is occurring. We need to lift that veil of misunderstanding and saying, hey, this is a crime to be dealt with.
Dude, this is a police officer, apparently?
The crime of the 90s. It's not going away.
Satanists want to recruit. We know that it's been going on for many years. This is not new. But their arrogance and their outwardness about the way they recruit is becoming unbelievable.
Dude, what happened to freedom of religion, freedom of speech, and freedom of expression? These people are demonizing a group of people just because they don't like what they believe. Not because of what they're doing. They're not actually doing anything wrong. Satanists were not doing these ritual sacrifices or whatever other nonsense. It wasn't happening. They are demonizing them simply because they don't like who they are or what they believe. That's it.
Sometimes they'll simply suck them in through the local high schools.
No, they won't. That's completely made up. Christian extremists who have always been in power in the United States for the most part have always found a reason or found a way to demonize the people that they hate. The United States is supposed to be based on Enlightenment values, acceptance, do what you want and I'll do what I want. Your right to swing your fist ends at the tip of my nose, that kind of thing, libertarian type of values, if you will. And Christians have always come along and fucked that up any way they possibly could. Christian extremists specifically. It's what it's always been.
Sex and drug parties.
We have an epidemic of young people participating in some strata of Satanism.
No, we don't. We don't have this epidemic of young people, whatever. This is just fear-mongering bullshit.
Now, that doesn't mean that they're all out sacrificing human beings, but they may very well be doing...
Wait, Director Mount Carmel Outreach. What is that? What is he the director of exactly? I don't know what that means or what he does or why I should give a shit about what he thinks.
Participating in some strata of Satanism. Now, that doesn't mean that they're all out sacrificing human beings, but they may very well be doing the rituals that involve of animals. One fire department individual told me all of the woods around our area have these types of rituals going on.
It is believed that if you kill an animal, that exerts a tremendous amount of energy that the people there can sort of vampirize on.
Who believes that? I don't believe that. I'm not a Christian. I'm an atheist. I don't believe any of this. Who is he even talking about right now? Who does he know that did this? And don't say himself. I need evidence.
And so animals would be slain, and this is especially true on the high holidays like Beltane and Samhain, Halloween and May Eve.
There's something about sacrifice. If you do it once, you want to do it all the time.
Former satanic high priestess, Sarah. Not true. There is only ever one high priestess in the satanic church at any given time, and that is the wife of the high priest of the satanic church. The first one was Anton LaVey, and the second one is the current high priest, I think. Or maybe there was a third one. I'm not exactly sure. There have only ever been 2 or 3. The claim that this person was a high priestess in the Church of Satan? Nonsense. The claim that Hillary Clinton was a high priestess? Nonsense. It's all nonsense, all the way down.
Once you've actually passed the barrier of sacrificing an animal, you get this sort of bloodlust where you really want to do it. And I really wanted to do it.
It's all completely made up. I mean, I don't know if you saw part 1, but the previous one had a bunch of newspaper articles like this that are too blurry to read except for the title. I did look the title up. I searched for it, and it was fake. Torturing of pets could be prelude to human murder. What? Yes, that's true. Definitely. Actually, this is a sign of psychopathy or sociopathy or antisocial personality disorder, aka psychopathy type 2. If your kid is doing something like this, there's a very high chance that they have some form of psychopathy and will very possibly go on to actually attack real people. This is not happening in the Church of Satan, okay? This is completely fabricated. This is entirely made up. And what article is this? Who is this even from? This says San Francisco Examiner. What is that? I've never heard of it before, first of all. Second, is it even real? Like I said, I looked up articles that they claimed were from AP News, some from like the New York Times. Didn't see any evidence that it was even real. I looked it up very specifically, couldn't find an article that matched it. I really think pretty much all of these are totally made up. They're fabricated. That is very true. What they're showing on screen, many mass killers started out with animals. That's true. This is not happening in the Church of Satan or whatever. It's completely made up.
This lady in a black robe came forward with this little baby. And at first I didn't realize it was a real baby.
Former Satanist, I bet.
And she just laid it on the altar. It was breathing, but it wasn't crying. And then the high priest just took the athame, or the ceremonial dagger, and just cut the baby's and called.
Some evidence for this? If this actually happened, it would be all over the newspapers. We would be able to investigate this as the crime that it was. Any evidence? Of course not. Fun fact, psychopathy is more common than you might think, as many psychopaths are trained to behave better. Yeah, that's true. I think it's like 4 to 5% of the population, somewhere in there. I think that there are as many vegans as there are people with psychopathy. The vast majority of people who have psychopathy will not go on to do something crazy, but, some will. It definitely needs to be treated for sure. Empathy does make you good or bad, actually. I disagree with the assessment that it doesn't make you good or bad. Empathy is where we got our moral compasses from in the first place as humans. The ability to empathize with people started out with our ability to build models in our heads. When we were cavemen, we would go around trying to hunt like bigger animals, and we would make plans with other people to, go around the corner and kind of corral this creature into a certain area, and we would build a model in our head of how we were going to do that, of what we wanted to do. We would explain it to the other people around us, and they would build the model in their head based on what we were describing. That was the ultimate source of empathy, or that was the start of our ability to feel empathy. Now that we can build this model in our head, we can understand how others feel about this thing or that thing. We can put ourselves in their shoes. That was the source of the evolution of morality, our ability to put ourselves in other people's shoes. The ability to empathize is absolutely necessary to the ability to build a strong moral compass. If you can't empathize because you have psychopathy, which is basically the definition of psychopathy, the inability to empathize with people, then it means that you're basing your moral compass off of everybody else's, and you have no reason to, or you have no ability to build your own moral compass. You're just following what other people do with their moral compasses, basically. That's the whole idea behind it. So anyway, yeah, you can have a moral compass without empathy, but you got that moral compass from somebody else. You didn't build it yourself. Which, you know, our moral values are largely built on the culture that we live in. But let me give you an example of something that's different. Okay, back in 1942, back in the 1940s, or 1930s, actually, I think, there was a period of time where Hitler went completely off the rails and came up with justifications to do what he called the Jew hunt, where he officially called for like the deaths of all Jews. And if you were a police officer in any battalion or any kind of anything at all, if you were military or whatever, you were expected to go find them and take them out, right? Now, a lot of these police officers or military personnel or whoever else, they believed in this deeply. They completely agreed with taking out the Jews. Despite the fact that they completely agreed with the premise, it really fucked their heads up. Psychologically, they were breaking down and crying and freaking out and didn't know how to deal with what they were doing, even though they completely agreed with it, right? That is the result of a moral compass appearing in somebody's mind, despite the fact that culturally, the culture disagreed with the moral compass. So our morals are very much built upon the culture that we live in, but it's not entirely built upon the culture that we live in. We can empathize with people, and that guides our moral compass. Now, the people who were most successful in Nazi Germany were the ones that were not really affected by the Jew hunt and were more willing to go around and attack people and do this thing or that thing or whatever else. They're the ones that ended up in the full-blown concentration camp. So Hitler recognized that, you know, a lot of people could not deal with doing something like that psychologically. And so instead of having the police or the, you know, military or whoever else go around and do that to the Jews, instead he instructed them to start arresting them and send them to a processing facility, which now, of course, we know to be the chambers and stuff. And in those chambers, or in, like, at the camps, the work camps and whatever else, he staffed them with people who showed no signs of remorse or struggle or difficulty with taking people out like that. People with true psychopathy, about 5% of the population. People who got their moral compass from society, and when society determined that it was okay to do this, they were perfectly fine with that. So you cannot build your own moral compass if you have psychopathy, if you're incapable of feeling empathy, incapable of building models in your head like that. You can't build your own moral compass. You get it from society. And when society suddenly doesn't view something as wrong anymore, you don't either. Simple as that. Anyway, sorry to go off on that little tangent. I thought that was pretty interesting, though.
At that point, I was staggering, reeling. I thought I was just going to throw up. I just couldn't believe it. But by then, I was so scared that I just stood there. And then when I was led forward, I thought, this is it, it's your turn, they're going to kill you. And I was lifted up onto the altar. Now, I at that time was still in white. It was part of a sacrifice known as the sacrifice of the White Virgin. And the same blood that had come from the baby was daubed all over my body.
It's all completely made up. Like I said, none of this ever happened. Complete fabrication. She is literally just making this stuff up. I don't know if it's on the spot or not, but it's completely fabricated.
Then the high priest raped me. And I think at that moment, I was just, the fact I was still alive went through my mind. I thought, you're still alive. I then had to...
This is honestly disgusting that they have spent time making up lies about the Satanic Church like this in an attempt to slander it and destroy its reputation. It's fucking disgusting, truthfully.
Sign in blood a parchment stating that I would never ever reveal what had happened in a coven. If I did, I would die.
Are human beings being sacrificed?
Who is this guy? Detective Kurt Jackson, Beaumont Police Department. Let's look this up and see if he's even real. Kurt Jackson, Beaumont Police Department. I can agree with some of that, but your own moral compass can be based on your perceptions outside of what you're told. I enjoyed the discourse, though. I appreciate that. Everything I said was based on science. I appreciate the discourse, too. I only ever base things on science as much as humanly possible. All you need to do to get me to change my mind is provide evidence that you're correct and that I'm not, or whatever, or provide evidence that my position is flimsy or whatever else. Okay, let's see. Okay, apparently there is a Kurt Jackson Beaumont Police Department from 1994. Beaumont, California. Oh my God, dude, hold on. Wait a minute. Okay, let me show you what I clicked on just now. Okay, I searched the guy's name. I clicked the first link at the top. Ritualistic child abuse. Sergeant Kurt Jackson, Beaumont Police Department is the source. Investigator Alfonso Valdez, Orange County. Wow. So this is from May 1994. Bill analysis? Senate floor analysis? Oh, so he submitted a bill to the Senate to try to get them to pass it to prevent ritualistic child attacks or whatever. This bill provides that a person convicted of any act against a child under the age of 14 committed as part of a ceremony, rite, or similar observance shall receive a sentence enhancement of 3 years. Oh my God. This guy's a true believer. This is crazy. Oh my God, dude.
Yes, they are. There's a lot of things that I would look for to make a determination on a ritualistic crime. It could be marks that are found at the scene. It may be things like a pentagram. It may be an upside-down cross.
Yeah, this guy is it's a true believer. He's completely unhinged.
Could be, again, the number 666. Could be a loss of blood in the body.
Wow, you find a loss of blood in the body, and that points to satanic ritual abuse. Totally, that checks out.
Certain parts removed in a certain manner. Their victims, some were targeted for specific reasons. One, because they wouldn't join. Two, because they did join and they want to drop out.
Oh, give me a break, dude. This is insane. This is absolutely insane. This reminds me of my religious mother sobbing and screaming at me for wearing a Zelda t-shirt with demons on it. Sensationalism has real-world consequences. Sometimes I feel like the crazy one. Thank you for validating me. Absolutely. It's insane, dude. Absolutely insane. This is unhinged, honestly. Really sad. A JW got a friend of mine pregnant, and they aren't a JW. How much trouble is he in if the Kingdom All finds out? He will be disfellowshipped. He will be cut out of his friends' and family's lives permanently. Speaking of which, I have nightmares about Jehovah's Witnesses being cut off from family. I had one last night, actually. This is a sign of PTSD, having nightmares like that. I have PTSD separate from religion for other reasons, but having dreams like that about religion, I think, is probably closer to RTS, which is religious trauma syndrome, which is a form of PTSD. Not good. Not good. It would be ideal if your friend could keep it quiet if at all possible. Good luck dealing with that. It does not sound fun at all. Yeah, the whole thing is pretty blurry, and I think that that's intentional. They're trying to make it blurry because they don't want you to read it, you know, and get any information from it or whatever else, because they want you to just believe what they have to say here, basically. So, anyway, let's keep listening.
Some of their victims are themselves. They voluntarily do it.
In many satanic groups, a mother will be asked to sacrifice her own child to Satan, and she may even, in fact, be ritually impregnated to do that. She may even...
This is just completely made up. Completely fabricated. Confession, I've never played the FF game series. Wow! I've only ever played FF7 and 8. I don't think I've played others.
And specifically have been impregnated, and then when the child is born, they never register the child as being born, and they kill it. You know?
That's totally made up. This does not happen. This has never happened in the history of ever, as far as I know. I just need a little evidence for it.
A very horrible way, and sometimes the mother herself is actually asked to do it.
Police link devil worshipper cult to case of unidentified children. Again, does this article even exist? Because I've looked up a bunch of these articles, and so far only one has existed. Are any of them actually even real? I seriously doubt it. I'm very skeptical.
Some of you may not even believe what you've just seen.
Yeah, wow, hit the nail on the head there, buddy. How did you know?
You may believe that this is just something that's aberrational and that it just doesn't reach the mainstream of America. But just think about some of the...
It's like he's reading my mind over here.
...headlines we've had recently. The case in Matamoros, where a group in Mexico were practicing human sacrifice, where they kidnapped and actually sacrificed several innocent young people.
I don't know what he's talking about specifically, but there are some groups in Mexico, some famous cults who have done things like this. So this is not completely unheard of. That doesn't mean that they were Satanists. Doesn't mean that this is a massive problem in the United States of all people. He's talking about Mexico right now. What happened to the U.S.? I thought that's what we were referring to. And there are a billion examples around the world of people doing crazy shit for stupid reasons. Doesn't mean that it's a widespread problem in the United States.
And think about the Night Stalker case here in Los Angeles with Ramirez brazenly flashing the satanic symbol and saying, "Hail Satan," and holding up his palm with a pentagram in it.
Okay, I haven't heard of that. Have you ever heard the term trolling before? That's my question for him.
And yet Ramirez was convicted of some of the most brutal crimes that we've ever seen in this civilized society. One case where he caused the woman to say, "Hail Satan," while he was raping and sodomizing her.
Oh, please, I would love to keep monetization. Please, just stop saying things like that. It's totally unnecessary. This is all made up anyways.
Alongside of her husband.
Okay, I'm skipping forward. You have lost your right to tell me something uncensored.
Murdered. These are things that were done as a result, I believe, of getting involved in Satanism.
Notice the word, I believe. Did you catch that right there? Did you catch that little caveat that he inserted there at the end? I believe. I don't give a shit what you believe. I'm looking for real hard evidence. Give me facts, not what you believe. Your beliefs are completely irrelevant to me. This dude is just simply obnoxious, and it drives me nuts. I just can't stand it how gullible people are. Not even how gullible they are. They're not necessarily that gullible, people in general. It's how underhanded and dirty and slimy people like this are in this show. The things that they're saying, the way that they frame stuff is all built around convincing people of nonsense. It is all designed to twist perspectives and propagandize and lie. That's what it's all about. And it's truly disgusting as far as I'm concerned. It's disgusting. I don't know. It's just wrong. Just simply wrong. Wow, I suck. I find it fascinating that as a gay trans Satanist, I'm apparently the biggest threat our nation has ever seen. Oh, absolutely. 100%. Biggest threat in existence. Pretty ridiculous. These people are totally detached from reality. Okay, sweet. Well, let's continue listening to this nutter butter.
The real Satanists, the hardcore Satanists, are involved in criminal activity, and for that reason they are going to try and look as normal as possible.
No.
The better to be able to deceive you. They're doctors, they're lawyers, they're teachers, they're oftentimes people who are in positions of great influence over small children.
Great. Give us examples. Give us proof of any of this. I will take anything.
In a recent letter to syndicated advice columnists and landers, a concerned parent wrote of a fourth-grade teacher who had asked her students to write a short essay on what they would most like to do to celebrate Halloween.
See what they're doing here? They've been doing this exact same thing for decades and decades and decades. Fear-mongering about the children. It's all about scaring people into thinking that your children are being controlled or manipulated or whatever other thing. That's what it's always been about. Because they know they can convince basically anybody of something if their children are at risk.
80% of her 9-year-olds expressed the wish to kill somebody. It is easy to see how Halloween's ambiance can promote an unhealthy desire.
Okay, a fourth-grade teacher asks students to write down their deepest wishes. 80% of them said they want to kill somebody. Come on. Can you give me a little evidence for this? I will take anything at all. This is ridiculous on so many levels. Seriously.
For violence.
All of today's seemingly innocent Halloween customs and symbols have their origins in the ancient Celtic Day of the Dead.
And of course, that equates to devil worship, right?
For example, the practice of trick-or-treat is from Celtic tradition, where people gave food in return for blessings from spirits of the dead. Failure to supply treats would result in demonic retaliation. Jack-o'-lanterns grew out of the Celtic tradition of carving the faces of demonic spirits on turnips.
Okay, some of this may be true, but don't trust a word of it automatically. I have learned that this woman has a tendency to just make shit up entirely with no facts about the matter. Just pulls it right out of thin air. No reason to believe any of it.
And later on pumpkins. The World Book Encyclopedia says the apparently harmless lighted pumpkin face of the jack-o'-lantern is actually an ancient symbol of a damned soul.
Oh, so it is actually harmless then. Okay, fascinating.
Candlelit pumpkins or skulls at a home signified that the occupants were sympathetic to Satan and would therefore receive mercy by spirits and trick-or-treaters on their Halloween rounds.
Again, very likely just completely made up. You need to look this stuff up before believing anything she says.
Perhaps the most sickening of all Druidic New Year practices were the human sacrifices which occurred at midnight. Adults and children alike would be thrown into huge fires while the celebrants danced around them in demonic fits of abandon. By morning's light, only ashes and bones would remain. These were called bone fires, which is where we get the tradition of bonfires today.
Okay, I really don't believe a word out of their mouths.
The Druids believed that black cats were reincarnations of the evil dead, and
gourds and pumpkins are not native to Europe, says Real Pumpkin J. Okay, well, I appreciate that. Interesting. I told you, like, everything they say is questionable and should be Googled before anybody believes a word out of their mouths, seriously. You know, 84% of people will believe you if you include statistics in your claim. It's even 75.23% more effective if you include a decimal point. Yeah, that's actually probably true. I mean, not the specific statistics, but it's probably true that it's more likely that people believe it if there's a decimal. That's funny.
Were possessed with supernatural power and knowledge. Bobbing for apples was part of the Druidic New Year sexual divination ceremony of fertility. The broomstick and witches' hats were originally considered phallic symbols.
phallic symbols. Oh my God, this is hilarious.
When used in the rituals of witchcraft, these objects supposedly transform the sexual energy released during orgasm into psychic energy.
Is this even real? I don't think this is real. This is ridiculous. Come on.
By understanding the pagan origins of Halloween, we can no longer claim ignorance. As parents, we are called to a sense of responsibility and must decide whether to allow our children to participate in occultic celebrations which glorify the powers of darkness.
Deuteronomy chapter 18 spells
Oh, here comes the Bible.
Out God's position concerning man's participation in divination, sorcery, or communicating with the dead.
But that's not what they're doing on Halloween. They're just wandering around in princess outfits asking for candy from people. I mean, if they were practicing divination and communing with the dead, that'd be one thing. They're not.
Verse 12 states that whoever does these things is detestable to the Lord.
Your mom's detestable.
By participating in the customs of Halloween, whether in fun or ignorance, we are continuing in practices which have been consecrated to Satan. People who love the Lord should stand for separation from these things and not compromise.
What if you don't love the Lord? Is it okay to compromise on these things and do them just for fun?
Christians can gather together at Halloween and use the night to educate themselves to the dangers of paganism and to take the opportunity to pray and wage spiritual warfare against the powers of darkness in their community. It can be combined with a time of worship, praise, and thanksgiving to our Heavenly Father for victory over Satan, death, and hell. Many of the people appearing on this program got involved in the occult because of a desire for divine-like power. The source of occult power is Satan. It is deceptive, exploitive, and will eventually fail to deliver on its promises. And there is always a hidden and heavy price to pay. The power God offers mankind, on the other hand, stems from a personal caring for that which He created. If you don't know God, but would like to experience His life-changing power, then recognize that Jesus Christ wants to be the Lord and Savior of your life.
No, I'm good. That's going to be a hard pass from me. Thank you.
If you accept the fact that His death and resurrection is payment in full for all of your sins, you will have everlasting life. Within all of us, there is a God-shaped vacuum. Throughout the ages, man has attempted to fill that void with the things of the world. But it is only through a relationship with our Creator that we can be truly satisfied.
Dude, this animation is so bad.
His Holy Scriptures reveal the way in which we can be reconciled to God, and that is through the provisions of His Son, Jesus Christ.
Jesus Christ.
I'm Chuck Smith.
And I'm Carol Matriciana. Join us again for another edition of The Pagan Invasion.
Maybe we will. We will see. And off they go. Wow. Fascinating. I muted it because I don't want the music to like get me with a copyright strike for this old TV show. Oh my God, this is crazy. This is absolutely unhinged. And what's with all these crystals? This looks like somebody's first attempt at 3D rendering in the 90s. Oh, wow. You can buy, like, VHS tapes. I wonder if it's still in operation. Let's see if we can call the phone number. Why is there a different number for California? Okay, let's call it.
Thank you for calling Jeremiah Films. If you'd like to place an order, please press 1 between the hours of 9 and 5 p.m. Pacific Standard Time.
It's
and
real.
You'll be connected to a helpful representative at K-House. If you'd like to leave a message for the production...
Oh my God, it's real. It's real. I could call them and place an order for their films. Holy shit. Maybe I should do that. Place an order for their films and just, like, watch the shit out of all of them. Maybe I can find them on YouTube, so it wouldn't be worth it to, like, buy them. But, oh my God, this is nuts, dude. What the hell is going on? This is crazy. I wonder if it's, like, a different line in California. Do they give people, like, different... What? What's different about California? I don't know. This is funny. Well, anyway, yeah, that is Pagan Invasion Volume 1, Halloween Trick or Treat. This is absolutely unhinged stuff, man. Let me know if you want to see more stuff like this in the comments or on Twitter at Telltale Atheist. And happy Halloween.